Welcome back. In this lecture, we'll understand how to generate MUnit test cases automatically using test recorder. Till now, we have written all the test cases manually, but they can be automatically generated using a test recorder. But remember, there are some limitations for test recorder. It cannot generate test cases for all scenarios. I'll point you to some scenarios where test recorder cannot generate the test cases. But let us see first how to use this test recorder. Simple. Let's assume that this is the flow I want to test. This is the same flow which we have been using for writing test cases. I want to generate test cases using test recorder for this flow. I will right click here, MUnit, select record tests for this flow. Now the application will start and it will start a recorder. Let us wait. Yes, the test recorder started. I got this window. It is saying your Mule application is now running and waiting for flow execution to start. Now I can give a request for various scenarios and then we can record the input data, output data, etc. So what I can do is I can go to Postman and I'll give a request for ID 1 which is existing, and we want to generate test cases for this particular scenario where I pass ID equals to 1. So I'll give a request, got the response. Now if you see the recorder, it recorded the input. Now for that input I can configure the test. See, it is asking what is the test name. I will write get product by ID, existing ID. Okay, next. So it is asking me what to generate. So suppose it is showing me all the message processors, right? Suppose for this message processor, products by ID flow, I want to mock the input data. What I can do is I can select this and I can select mock this processor. Or suppose if I want to verify a call to this processor, I can also select verify this processor. So I want to mock this processor or I want to spy this processor. Suppose I want to spy this processor. Next. So it is showing this is the test summary. In the behavior part, it will generate a spy and also set event. And in the execution part, there will be a flow reference. And in the validation part, there are some validations. So finish. Now you can see a test case is generated where you can see in main flow. It is in the execution part, it is calling main flow. And here set event is present in the behavior. Actually, it's a good practice to keep it in the execution part. Even if it is in behavior part also, it's fine. So set event. If you see the set event which is generated, it is pointing to a DWL file which is like this. See, under get product by ID, existing ID. This is the test case name. And under that, there is set event payload. Read URL is pointing to this payload. Let us see what is the payload right now. It is an empty string, right? Because based on the given request, I gave a get request. There was no payload. So set event payload is captured as empty. Set event attributes, if you see, oh, these all attributes and their values are automatically captured when I gave a request and this file is generated. So if you see in payload, it is pointing to this folder slash set event payload.dwl, and in the attributes, it is pointing to set event attributes.dwl. Okay, then you can see spy. Spy is configured to actually spy a flow reference with this doc ID, and then here assert expressions. So here the payload, it wrote assert expressions. For spy assert payload, here you can see spy assert payload. It is asserting that the payload must be empty, and after that payload is this. After the flow reference, it is asserting the payload is this one according to the recorded data. And then here in the assert expression after the execution, what is a payload? Here again, assert expression payload.dwl. This is the one. Here, this is the expression. And verify call, it is verifying that the call went to this flow reference one time. Automatically, this test case is generated, spies are generated, verifications, asserts, everything are generated, and the corresponding DWLs are generated. So I told that externalizing DWLs like this is a best practice, right? So even the generated test cases are also following the same best practice as we did. Okay. So like that, suppose if you want to write again a error scenario for something else for a different input, then again you can give a request. Again you can record one more, give a request, and then generate one more test case for this. So like that you can automatically generate. But there are some limitations. You cannot generate test cases for all flows. There are some limitations which you need to understand. Even for certification exam, you need to understand these limitations. Definitely a question is going to come on this test recorder in the exam as well. Let me show you. I'll go to Google and search for Munit test recorder. So it will take me to the documentation page, test recorder. And here is the documentation. And here there are limitations. I strongly recommend you to go through these limitations and understand the limitations. Definitely a question is going to come in examination from these limitations. There will be a lot of A, B, C, D choices. If you know these limitations, then only you will be able to answer this question. Please go to the documentation and understand these limitations. Okay, that's all. We are done with MUnit. I've shown you all the features of MUnit. Thank you. Happy learning. You can continue with next section.